Some of the best video games in history were released for the Super Nintendo, and then there were these games. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 worst SNES games. For this list, we're looking at the saddest, most unplayable, unenjoyable, pathetic excuses for licensed video games to ever disgrace the SNES. Any unlicensed games like Hong Kong 97 do not count, which, considering its music, is a pretty good thing. As a courtesy, we're also excluding educational games that specifically targeted younger audiences and may have been overly simple or repetitive in order to achieve their educational goals. So, your time machine gets a pass this time, Mario. Number 10, Balls 3D. Balls 3D had some interesting graphics, and that's pretty much it for its good qualities. This might be the most laughably bad title for a video game ever. Sure, they used the foolproof 90s marketing technique of replacing the letter S with Z to achieve the cool, edgy effect, but that simply proved that the word balls could not be saved. The semi-pornographic moaning in the soundtrack doesn't help either. Unnecessarily complicated controls coupled with a lack of varied moves made it a failure of a fighting game. Annoying music, bad physics, uninspired characters, and an imbalance between health and attack strength. There's no other way to say it. This game was balls. Number 9, Space Ace. To be fair, Space Ace was incredibly well received as a Laserdisc arcade game in 1984, praised for its unparalleled animation, thanks to game developer and ex-Disney director Don Bluth. Then it was ported to the SNES. Enter the pixelated graphics, ruining the fluid, movie-like animation and dynamic scenarios. The truly unique form of level design from the original is reduced to side-scrolling weirdness. And of course, in an effort to maintain some resemblance to the game that spawned it, Space Ace SNES did certainly feature one-hit deaths. It was unforgivingly difficult and deeply frustrating. Number 8, The Wizard of Oz. Some games fall victim to a fatal design flaw. Other times, a fully functional playable game is simply so painfully boring and uninspired that we'd rather stare at a blank screen. Divided into 4 worlds, each with a few levels apiece, the game is essentially one level repeated with minor redesigns. Dorothy has a magic wand, yeah, remember that from the film, and the ability to kick stuff. Why bother kicking? Impossible to say. Exceedingly difficult yet ultimately unrewarding platforming is mixed with laughably weak enemies as you slowly trudge through this criminally bad adaptation of one of the most whimsical and cherished films in history. Number 7, Rise of the Robots. Promising title, right? There's no way this game's gonna be as bad as Balls 3D. Wrong. We dream of a crossover fighting game in the style of Marvel vs. Capcom between this and Balls 3D, titled Bad vs. Worse. Terrible controls set the bar incredibly low, only to be surpassed by awkward camera angles, laughable hit detection, and an extremely limited set of moves at your disposal. You love button mashing? Perfect. Your attacks are essentially limited to kick and punch. Just don't do any of that too fast, as the game is known to have a significant delay. Also, single-player mode only has one character that you can play as. How's that for variety? Number 6, Bebe's Kids. Comedian Robin Harris once had a popular recurring bit about Bebe's Kids. 3 horrible children that his girlfriend would always inexplicably agree to babysit and bring along on their dates.
We don't die, we...
It inspired an animated film, which was poorly received, so naturally, they adapted that into an infinitely worse video game. Bebe's Kids took the same side-scrolling beat-em-up style of such classic games as Turtles in Time and proceeded to suck all the joy out of punching stuff. The characters move at a brutally slow pace, the hit detection is non-existent, and the gameplay is beyond reprieve. Number 5. Timecop. It's one of the loosest video game adaptations of a film ever made. It's so badly designed it's almost unplayable. It's Timecop. And it'll leave you bored, blind, and frustrated. The game starts by throwing the plot out of the film out the window, but plot matters so little in this game, so who cares? Regardless of time period, you fight the exact same henchmen. The digitized characters are very detailed, yet out of focus, giving a blurry vision effect to the whole game. When you and an enemy attack simultaneously, the game tends to freeze as it figures out what to do. It's also a good contender for ugliest ending ever. Number 4. Shaq-Fu. This is the unholy spawn of a popular public figure in the 90s and the attempt to cash in on that popularity with a video game. In the game itself, Shaq gets sent to an alternate dimension to save a young boy. Why is Shaq the right man for the job? Well, he was the first one to walk into the dojo and he's like super tall, so, you know. With subpar graphics, boring combat, and a horrible input delay, Shaq-Fu was bad enough to make you want to burn your Lakers jersey. Still not convinced? There's actually a website out there dedicated to collecting and destroying copies of this game.
Sega Genesis and Super NES.
Number 3. Pit Fighter. This is another one of those ports from hell releases. Initially reasonably well received as an arcade game, it was one of the many titles of the era to use digitized footage of real actors for its animations. As is often the case with ports to the SNES, key features were lost in this translation. The biggest losses included an interactive audience that pushed players back into the ring, weapons, and 3 characters. What's the backstory? Well, you fight for money in a pit. But here the digitized characters were reduced to blocky smudges, their animation was a joke, and the controls vary from clunky to broken depending on who you ask. Number 2. Rap Jam, Volume 1. Honest question. When you hear the title Rap Jam Volume 1, do you immediately think that this is a basketball game? Well, bad title aside, who doesn't want to take to the court as Coolio, Flava Flav, or Queen Latifah? Considering how terrible this game is, the decision to actually include Volume 1 in the title verges on delusional. The graphics are horrible enough to make every character indistinguishable from the next, and switching between players is just not an option. The only winners in this game are the artists who said no to signing up. Before we reveal our top pick, here are a couple of dishonorable mentions. Number 1. Race Drivin. First off, in terms of graphical quality, Race Drivin is not good. They probably blew the whole budget designing the driver's admittedly beautifully rendered hands and didn't save enough cash for, the actual game. The jerky controls and poor handling alone make the game unplayable, but combine them with a single-digit frame rate and Race Drivin becomes just nauseating. You also randomly crash, often, for no reason. So, if you were ever wondering how important the Super FX chip, included in games like Star Fox, was to the game's quality, just remember, Race Drivin did not have one of those chips. Do you agree with our list? What are some of the worst SNES games that you've suffered through? For more highly critical top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.